Hello, everyone. Again, welcome to November 1st field tuning. First field tuning that I've done in a while. Hopefully the second, but we won't get into it yet. But if you're listening to this on the Room Radio podcast, the first field tuning that I've done in a while, welcome back. Welcome again to everyone who's here live, Room Radio. If you're interested in joining the server, and being part of these containers and other containers live, then you can check out the links in the bio. If you are not ready to make financial commitments to join us on buymeacoffee.com, which is our subscription where we handle all of our subscriptions, then there is a 7-day free trial that you can um, sign up for to trial being part of the server, being part of these containers live before you invest. And the link to do so will also be in the description. Did I say bio earlier? That's definitely something I think people say more on Instagram, but the description of this podcast episode will have the information on how you can join. So, hi, everybody. What's up? I'm here to pull cards for the month of November. And as per usual, I'm using the Goddess Tarot by Chris Wilder, and I may pull an oracle card. We shall see. But I wanted to kind of start by pulling a few cards forecast November has in store for us, and then we'll go from there, flow from there. I've been shuffling these cards for a while, so I'm excited to see what comes up. Ooh, 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 ooh. Okay. So the first card that came up, beginning card, represented by the goddess Tara. Then we have the Nine of Cups, and then the Eight of Pentacles, which is very interesting. Just to start off, I'm gonna share these cards in the chat. So again, we have beginnings card represented by Tara, the Nine of Cups, the Eight of Pentacles. So November is giving new beginnings, just to say. Um, whether these new beginnings are things that you've been preparing for in advance, that we've been there's a couple of different messages coming through. It's new beginnings, and I feel like it has to do with things that we've been preparing for, but then at the same time, I also feel like some of these new beginnings might sudden for some of us. Um, I don't get the sense that any of these new beginnings are going to be a surprise, quote unquote, to anybody who's been in their energetic bag, anybody who's been doing the quote unquote work. However, some of us may be surprised where we're called to direct our energy and our awareness in the month of November. Um, in relation to those who I feel like have been preparing for these new beginnings, I feel like the Nine of Cups signifies like the way that it's pictured. Even this card is like a person who's sitting and just kind of filling their cup and waiting for the right moment to tap into a sense of fullness, a sense of fulfillment. I feel like saying that this time is now for you. Again, it might not come off as a surprise to you because there's part of you that's been like anticipating this new beginning or kind of seeing it over the horizon is the way that it wants to be said. So, yeah, relish in that. And for those of us who are like a little bit, I guess you could say, taken aback by the new beginnings that we feel called to pursue. Um, you've been directing your attention and awareness to other goals, other pursuits, kind of having this, I just see this in my mind's eye, like somebody who's had their head down in their books, so to speak, even if it has nothing to do with academia. It feels like somebody who's just been focused on what's in front of them. And then they look up and suddenly see this opportunity, this door, this portal to step into a threshold that represents a new beginning. And they're going to do it. They're going to feel called to walk through this personal threshold, whether it's showing up energetically in a new way, whether it's um, pursuing a different goal, a different profession, whether it is um, stepping into a new role at work, stepping into a new role in your relationships. Um, again, it might be sudden, but surprise. I don't know how else to transmit that. But I'll pull more cards to get more context on this. But I do want to read what Tara represents here in this deck. It's interesting because I was reading about the goddess Tara last night before I dozed off. Um, so I'm excited to see the card come up here. Tara, Tara. So it says, Tibetans believe that the goddess Tara has the power to heal all sorrows and grant all wishes. Tara is honored as the protectress against many fears that block men and women living in happiness and harmony. The meaning of this card is innocence, which protects beginnings, optimism, and innocent. Yes, I think optimism is a great word to describe the way some of us are approaching the month of November in general and months moving forward, right? I don't think this reading is just super specific to the month of November. Like this could also be like, oh, you are going to show up in the next couple of months. So I do just want to say that. But I do feel like optimism is a word that also describes, that is a good word that describes the attitude that some of us are walking into this month with. Um, just a renewed sense of faith, clearer vision also might be the attitude that we are occupying, and also this sense of like leaving troubles behind in order to create space and steward of your own new beginnings feels like it describes the energy signature for the month of November so far. Um, yeah, I think yesterday what I was reading about the goddess Tara had to do with the myth of a specific nakshatra. So I was kind of looking into that and the relationship to Tara's relationship to the planet Jupiter. So this feels kind of apt in because it feels like the energy signature of the month of November has a lot to do with luck. Um, and again, like sudden changes has a lot to do with the energy of wealth cultivation, however that looks. Um, and I want to read the Nine of Cups because I do feel like the Nine of Cups also represents that sense of wealth and abundance. I'm going to read that card as well. Queen of Cups, Queen of Cups. Okay, here it goes. The Nine of Cups. Finally, satisfaction. Rainbow leads the woman to a banquet table set with 9 cups. This sense of worth waiting for. This feast will nurture many hearts and bodies. The meaning of this card, satisfaction, contentment. Some consider this card the wish card, meaning a wish will be granted if it appears in a spread. Yeah, this sense of satisfaction, this sense of contentment also feel like, yeah, wealth cultivation is part of the energy signature of November. Um, which I do feel like part of manifesting wealth or cultivating this sense of inner wealth has to do with finding a sense of peace and contentment with your circumstances as they are. I don't think that this is about, like, um, saying to just be, like, okay with your circumstances if they are truly, like, causing you discomfort or disrupting your sense of peace, right? Or just staying around in circumstances or relationships that are not good for us, are, like, toxic because they offer someone else a sense of peace and contentment. I think this is, um, about how looking at where you are in life and, like, ho being in a state of gratitude can also open the door, energetically speaking, to, like, for things to be grateful for, and I think a lot of people who are, like, into manifestation talk about that. I'm not necessarily, like, the person who talk about, like, how to manifest your best life, but I do hear that in a lot of different circles that gratitude begets more things to be grateful for, and so that's kind of the sense that I'm getting from the Nine of Cups here, and that some of us who may be looking for, um, or cultivating a sense of wealth may find a lot of contentment this month, whether it is a new opportunity or a sense of coming into some money, or, like, literally coming into some money, not a sense of it, but literally coming into some money might be true for us, the month of November, to further, um, our sense of contentment. So, yeah, I appreciate what these cards are kind of transmitting to me right now. Should I read the Eight of Pentacles? No, I kind of pull some clarifier cards. Bef I pull some clarifiers, I'm gonna just pull a couple more cards, see what spirit has. Ah, the Six of Pentacles came out, which if y'all remember last week, or if you were here last week, you might remember that the Six of Pentacles came out, but it was reversed, and this time it came up upright. That's pretty s and we have the Eight of Cups. Nice. I'm gonna share these cards in the chat as well. Six of Pentacles and the Eight of Cups. Hmm. What are we walking away from in the month of November? I don't know, but we might ask ourselves that this month, like, "What am I walking away from, and what am I walking toward? What emotional baggage am I leaving behind? And what, I guess you could say, emotions am I opening myself up to?" Is how it wants to be said. Yeah, I guess this connects to the new beginnings card a bit too, because I feel like in November, some of us may feel like we're leaving a lot behind in order to be available to this new beginning. And walking away from certain things, situations, circumstances, um, can cause a lot of grief, can bring up a lot of grief. And I think in that reflective state of grief, we might have a better sense of what is changing, what the transition is between our current state and that sense of a new beginning. Again, this could be an internal thing, right? That we might just be deciding to feel or see things differently in our lives and in our particular circumstances that we're in. We might choose to take on, oh, a butterfly, to take on a new perspective, when it comes to our relationships, when it comes to, our circumstance in life. And I think that transition between, that choice, making that choice to be like, okay, I'm going to start to see this a little bit differently. I'm going to embody a different attitude when it comes to this certain thing. Um, Even if it's not grief, we might just become aware of how we used to see or do things, and um, how the perspective that we embodied in a certain place in our lives is completely different than the attitude we feel called to take on currently. Um, so sometimes grief comes up. Some people can feel excited about that transformation. It is Scorpio season. And so maybe that is what spirit is saying, that we can find ways to feel excited about the sense of transformation. We can find sense of, I don't know, the word gratitude keeps coming up in regards to like where we were, where we are now, where we feel called to be now. Might be difficult also to embody a sense of gratitude when you are in a transitional space in your life. But I think that, I don't know, I think for me, the way that I see it is like when I can look back and see how I would, let's say, for example, respond to a certain situation. It's actually real. I did get triggered last night, for example, and saw myself wanting to respond to that trigger within a conversation that I was having with somebody a particular way. And I could literally see myself responding in that way, and then I like could feel like in my field shift, the palpable shift in my energy when I kind of connected to a timeline of me responding in the way that I did, which was completely new for me, right? Which is like responding to triggers in a way that have um, my whole self in mind. And I was like, oh, that is really interesting. Not only is it interesting, I like kind of felt like I felt gratitude because I'm like, that could have been bad. Like I could have um started a disagreement with somebody that would have taken us like, I don't know. I feel like the trigger was, it triggered me into a response that taken me into a different mindset, would have derailed my evening. And there was just much for me to focus on in that moment where I'm like, I don't want to let this trigger overpower me. I want to let this trigger be the center of m- my night, my day. I don't want it to be the thing that's center of mine. And I feel like that decision, split second decision, opened me up to not only responding differently, but then it opened me up to an opportunity to like lay down and like meditate after my night was, and sort of transmute that energy where I was like, okay, like why, going through the steps of my own internal dialogue, like why did that trigger me? What did it trigger in me? What was coming up for me? What's still there? What part of me needs attention, healing, love, in this moment, and is asking for that touched on, like, what did it rub up against side of me is something that I was able to kind of and it unraveled this whole space. Like, I feel like it unraveled space in my field and in my mind where I was able to, again, not only transmute how I felt, but it just took me into a different place. I feel like it was literally the felt sensation of me choosing a different timeline, like people say. And what came from that was just, I think, something more embodied, something more real and more connected to, again, like me feeling empowered enough to like work through what was coming up instead of externalizing that trigger and, yeah, just derailing other things that I could think of in that moment. I'm like, I don't want to like derail my night and my day. I had a good day, I had such a good evening. So I just kind of wanted that to kind of going. So that's just an example that comes up for me. There have been also times where I feel like I have felt grief. I think about like, oh, how would I have responded in a particular way? Or like, where was I at this time in my life? And I could see where I am presently. And I just feel like that in the month of November, if that does come up, feel like that's what the Eight of Cups like reflecting to us, that that might come, like the felt sense of grief, the felt sense of walking away, the felt sense of like I'm just not that person anymore. I think that that's real. I think that that's true for a lot of people. I think when we're evolving beings, we're constantly in a state of change is something that I believe, and I think that the more we can embrace that sense of change, the more that we can, yeah, just allow ourselves to not static, not allow ourselves to be beholden to anything. Like what comes up. I know that feels so vague, but I'm like, yeah, I personally am in a place in my life right now where I'm like, I'll walk away from, I don't care. I really don't care. I will walk away from it. Whether it's a conflict, whether it's a projection, whether it is, you know, whatever, if it's not even about whether or not it's serving me, but I'm like, I have dealt with grief so many times that I'm like, out through that process and, like, deal with my stuff internally as opposed to letting myself occupy, like, place that I have already left, like, already psychically, like, moved away from. So, I'm gonna read what the 8 of Cups is about and then get into the 6 of Pentacles because I feel like that's also a very interesting card. Okay. The 8 of Cups reads, "The moon has waned, the tide has gone out. Searching for more substantial fare, the woman leaves behind 8 empty cups she has drunken of." The meaning of this card is time to move on, need for more substance in life, whether that be more satisfying relationships, a more authentic way of life, and leave taking. Yeah, in general, I feel like this card is just reflecting again back to us that we don't have to linger too long in any circumstance that is, yeah, taking a lot of our energy. And I think that once we become, I think, more savvy to in the art of like emotional alchemy, can recognize the things that actually like deserve airtime and deserve our and warrant our attention and sometimes don't. Like a lot of conversations, I think for me, the way that this shows up is like things that I can clearly see, at least at this point in my life, the things that need to be resolved, the people that I can sit down and like resolve certain things with. And then I can clearly see people who I cannot go past official level with. That's, I think, what makes things walking away and taking my own leave taking a lot easier, where I'm like, I don't think it would have even gotten that deep with that person, and something that I, like, tell myself often. So, yes. Um, let's read this Six of Pentacles because it does feel connected, maybe abstractly, but let's get into and then I'm gonna read the chart. The Six of Pentacles, okay. Says, "The richly dressed woman decides to help the 2 beggars. She is so wealthy that giving only adds to her prosperity." The meaning of this card is philanthropy and generosity, sharing talents with the world and helping others, and then also generosity. So it says generosity, really interesting. Um, Philanthropy and generosity, sharing talents with the world, helping others. Oh, this was coming up. Now I kind of feel like I know how it's connected. I feel like in the month of November, mm, I don't know, this might be a Scorpio season too. Like we might feel called to like pivot really quickly. Again, in line with the 8 of Cups, right? Like if we're kind of learning and mastering and molding and seeing how we can take our leave taking from certain circumstances, people, situations that don't deserve our attention. I think conversely, we're also thinking about what does deserve our attention, awareness, and our energy. Um, or we can extend the flow of our energy generously, maybe even philanthropically, right? And I think that that has a lot to do with like the sense of being able to like manage our energy, being where we can redirect our focus, I think might be um top of mind this Scorpio season and in November in general. I think that wow, wow. There's a lot coming up for me right now, I think in regards to like certain relationships can well, I'll speak for myself. Like certain relationships have um brought up so much for me where I'm like just the sheer amount and the energy that I expended on those relationships has depleted my creative center, um, has depleted in the past, has depleted my ability to give my energy freely, not only to myself, but to other people, other endeavors. And I guess the reason why that's coming up is because I feel like the 6 of the Six of Pentacles represents our our relationship to our sacral sort of energy, that sense of being in energetic exchange with other people can be a restorative act. However, it can feel very daunting when we are drained, when we do feel depleted. Think that, yeah, this Six of Pentacles connects, at least to me, to the Eight of Cups, in the sense that it's like the next, I guess, natural progression from walking away and restoring our, um, our sense of our own energy, but I also feel like our sense of connection with the world, like this of wanting to share our energy, right? Like again, where do I put my energy? Where do I put my focus? Where do I my awareness? And I think that the Six of Pentacles is like reflecting back that we can reinvest our energy in different ways. Now we don't have to necessarily like close down. Kind of how I was meditating on this earlier today, how like certain relationships has just caused me to feel so drained where I'm like, I just don't even get I don't want to share my energy with anyone. You know? And I think as a way to sort of just reclaim my space, I'm like, I don't even want to share it with anybody, right? And I think that the Six of Pentacles is, yeah, it's a great archetypal energy here. It's like you don't have to shut down those it's okay to like shut them down if you feel like you need to restore them, but you don't have to shut them down. You can be in a sacred exchange with the world, with other people, with our creative pursuits, and those things are life giving enough, in a lot of cases. So yeah, the Six of Pentacles, because it's interesting. I want to read what the reverse says because I'm like, whoa, I've never seen the reverse of this card or read it. The reverse says jealousy or envy and the need for appreciation, which I think connects to gratitude from earlier too. Mm, like I think abstractly earlier we were talking about gratitude for our circumstances, but I think the need for appreciation is more internally focused. Oh, the butterfly again. How we can like I feel like the Six of Pentacles reversed, even though it didn't come up reversed in this reading, it did in last week's reading. Like that it's upright. I think that it's the other polarity of it is how we can, yeah, we can feel like I don't even know how else to put it, like how we can feel a sense of jealousy or envy. Not only, yeah, like towards other people, other circumstances. Those things actually, to me at least, I think they signal a need for appreciation for what's in front of us, like what we have, what we bring into the world, what our energetic signature is. You know? I'm like, do I even want to get on this pedestal right now? But I'm like, yeah, jealousy and envy is a very interesting energetic signature because I think, like for me, it confuses. I'll say like when it's directed towards me, because I'm like, why? Like you have your own life force. Is like what comes up for me. I'm like, why feel jealous? Why feel envious? But I also understand because I'm like, I think once our energy is, if our energy is depleted or it's just not seen and not appreciated enough, we can look at someone else's light and be like, I want that, you know? I think, oh God, I saw this wonderful video on jealousy and envy, and I think the person was narrating in that video was saying how for them, jealousy and envy always redirects them to what they want. And I think that that's kind of how I see it too, where I'm like, when I feel those feelings come up, mm, in within me, not when they're directed at me, but when I feel them come up in me, I'm like, what is my body saying that it needs right now? Like, what is my field communicating? What is it like about this other person? And so for me, instead of like staying in a space that's like covetous of someone else's gifts or what they have, I try to redirect that towards myself and say, like, what do I want? What's alive in me? What wants to be birthed in me right now? And then I'm able to, even if I'm not able to just kind of, create my own version of what it is, I can find appreciation for what I have. I can find gratitude for how I show up, what my quote unquote light is, what my quote unquote gift is. I think that that's I think, and just again, in general, just managing our energy, but I also think that it's a way that we can honor and find gratitude for and our own self, our own circumstances. Um, yeah, I'm like, there's so much more I want to say, but I'm gonna take a pause and read the chat and see what's coming up for y'all. Please feel free to reflect, chat if you'd like. Mm, yes. Yeah, Sky, I'm curious. Sky says she sits on the back of my phone, and I'm curious if that relates to Tara. Oh, lovely. That's beautiful. Pod says, I find gratitude can be hard when the grief is still heavy. Definitely. Can be V healing to the grief to feel into gratitude. Yeah. It's a bit paradoxical, but I think it's that way on purpose. Beautiful. Sky says gratitude has been a big raft for me these last weeks. Thank you for sharing. Yeah. Thanks for reflecting, y'all. Okay. Now I want to pull a clarifier for Tara. I'm glad I looked at the chat because I'm like, that reminded me I wanted to pull some clarifying cards. So, yes. Yes. All right. Any clarifying cards for Tara card? This card came up last week as well. Anything else? Mhm. Let's see. Ooh, beautiful. Okay. Cards that came out as clarifiers for the new beginnings or the beginnings card. The Tara card is first one is the Princess of Cups. Then we had the Three of Cups. So two cups cards. Hello, crow. There's a crow outside. Okay. I'm gonna read what the Princess of Cups card is about. Did come up last week. I feel like it's pertinent and potent for the month of November. The Princess. The Princess of Cups, an adolescent girl as beautiful as Venus, crowned with a waxing moon, anticipating love, pleasure, ripeness of womanhood, she drinks fully. This card represents artistic inspiration, receptivity, a young woman who symbolizes the gift of Venus, love, beauty, and emotional richness, movement in these areas of life, and grace. Beautiful. Very directly, I feel like this is the Princess of Cup archetype represents um, what we're moving into. So, as this card clarifies the beginnings, the new beginnings card, I think that the new beginning that we are, some of us may feel called to walk towards, or the portal that we feel to walk through, um, presents, yeah, this sense of receptivity. Uh, people call it like quote unquote soft girl, but I feel like that's non-gender conforming. So our soft person era, an era of less go go go, whether it's we feel called or we have felt called in previous chapters to be on the go go go, or we felt like It's interesting. I feel like what's also coming up is like a period of out of stagnation in particular areas in our lives, whether that is creatively, whether that is in particular relationships. Um, yeah, we're moving from some of us may feel called to move out of this sense of like stagnation or incredibly fast moving energy to more like soft Venusian coded. Um, yeah, era where it's like things are like you in and of yourself are more receptive to things like love, beauty. Um, I'm getting the sense so random of like starting new beauty rituals or connecting to things that exemplify our sense of beauty, um, regardless of what they are. Some people like do that through like skincare routines and things like that. Some people do that through like dance and movements. Some people do that through the way that they adorn themselves. Well, we might feel called to like renew our relationship to those things this month. Some of us also maybe feel called or feel the most beautiful when we're creating or doing a creative endeavor, and I feel like that also might be up for the taking, I guess you can say this month. Um, and on a more deeper level, I mean, it wouldn't be Scorpio if it wasn't on a deeper level. I think that some of us may feel like called to renew our sense, our inner feminine in general, our connection to our inner feminine. And then like on a very like literal material level, like healing our relationship to Venus and Venusian archetypes, healing our relationship with the women in our lives too. Something that I feel like is coming up as well. Um, yeah, I'm getting like some of us have I'm literally like scratching my head right now because I'm like, huh? Like, yeah, I'm hearing like some of us may have connected to women in our lives on a very, very superficial level. And that might change in the month of November. Like we might feel called to like enrich our relationships with the women in our lives, call in new relationships with women. Um, yeah. Also, our like sense of community too might be up for because I'm like, I don't that is just women. I think Cal gets deep on Scorpio. Earlier, we were talking about how this container is like an adult's container because I'm like, part of me feels like I'm not holding back. I feel like what's also coming up is like some of us may have taken advantage of of our relationship with like women in our community. Um, or take it for granted, not advantage. Advantage is a very interesting word though. Like take it for granted our relationship with women and our community, and that might be something that we're reflecting on in this month or already have been reflecting on and now we feel called to like show up differently in this regard. Yeah. For me, this way that this shows up is like I feel like locally, like where I live now is something that I've kind of felt quote unquote over for a very long time. And something that I've been reflecting on in the last couple of weeks where I'm like, I'm always so ready to move out of where I live. I'm not gonna I mean, a lot of people probably already know that I live very close to New Orleans. So it's I've always felt just like ready to leave New Orleans. And I feel like more recently I have been in my meditations and just in my downtime have been feeling a renewed sense of connection to the land that I'm on, and, just, like it seems silly because also there's a lot of contention around, just in general, like, the occupation of being a landlord, but I've also even been feeling, like, a sense of appreciation for, like, my landlord, for many reasons that I won't get into right now, but I'm, like I feel like this is how it's showing up for me right now personally, where I'm like, "Oh, I'm grateful to be here in this city," especially now with having a son, I'm like, "Oh, I, like, been in New Orleans for such a long time that I'm, like, a regular at, like, so many places, like, museums, coffee shop, herb shops, like, now having a child, I'm like, "I can't wait to bring him to all these places, parks that I frequent, walking trails, places that I used to skate." Now I'm like, "Oh my god, I can take my son to all these places," and I feel like that's been part of, like, this addition in my community, helping me renew my relationship to the land that I'm on, from the land that I've been on for a very long time, and so it's just kind of, like, refreshed my lens. So, like, abstractly for me, it feels like that's what this bridge between the Para card and the Princess of Cups card is for me, show up for us in different ways, and I think that also connects to the sense of, like, gratitude, the larger sense of, like, gratitude and grace that I feel like is part and parcel of month of November in school season, like, it's helping us connect to the sense of gratitude, but it could be for different reasons, so yeah, it's super, super interesting. I'm gonna read the 3 of Cups now because I feel like the 3 of Cups, I think, relates to, um, sense of community and the women in our lives. The 3 of Cups says, "3 women dance in a circle, celebrating the round of life. Together, these dancing women symbolize all of life's joys, potentials, and riches." The meaning of this card is a celebration involving women, possibly a wedding feast, peace between family generations, and a reason to celebrate. I love that. Love that, love that, love that. Yes, so I know for me, I have stuff to celebrate in November. Feel like the sense of celebration also could be, again, um, internal for a lot of us month that we, again, are just seeing ourselves. Yeah, I talked about this earlier, show up in ways, respond to triggers in different ways. That no one tells you is a reason to celebrate, in my opinion. Feel like you should celebrate yourself, celebrate others when you see them showing up differently and in new ways as well. I think also too, this card represents like how gathering in general, whether it is with women or other people in general, has creates like a container, like a sacred container around you and everyone else. Think that there is a lot of magic. I think our ancestors could tell the story tell a story and a half about it. The magic of just gathering with one another and gathering with other people, containers like this, or in containers in real life, or other containers that you are a part of. Um, I'm sure y'all could tell a story too about how there's magic in gathering with one another, and I think the 3 of Cups presents. Um, I think traditional 3 of Cups represents like party general, and I think there's magic in that. Like, I'm an ex-party girl, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm in my mother era now, but I definitely was a party girl, those who know, and there's magic in that too, like, going out with people and which is a joke that, we've been joking about that since week. Think that there's medicine in without being trite. I'm like, it's really beautiful. Like, go out with other people, see yourself in different containers, healing. I think in a lot of cases as well too. I've been seeing that a lot on my timeline on X, how like people are like, people have been saying quote unquote a girl's night would heal me. And so if you're offered a chance in the month of November to step out, to go out and in your means and it doesn't take you away from other things that you're focused on, then do, and even if you can put other things aside and get back to them, step out and come back to whatever you're doing. I think that that's beautiful too. Um, I mean, I'm like I said, I'm in my mother era, but I'm definitely my birthday's month. I'm definitely for my birthday, so clock that. Clock that. I don't think that celebration has to stop for whatever era that we're in our lives. Um, yeah. There's also I was listening to this podcast yesterday. I'm so glad that I found, but it was talking about how um Ibn Arabi, who is a Muslim philosopher, was talking about so the speaker in the podcast was speaking on Ibn Arabi, and then Ibn Arabi was quoted that around the how the continuity of Islam when it was absorbed into different cultures was, well, they mentioned Ibn Arabi in this case, I don't wanna misquote them, but essentially what I got from it was that they were saying how the continuity of Islam didn't dissolve in certain cultures because it was able to, um, hold space for and appreciate basically things that people had, rituals that people were a part of, mm, before the advent of Islam, and I think one of the things that the speaker in the podcast was talking about was how a lot of people in my culture, a lot of women in my culture have historically gathered, um, to essentially create a container of reverence and in veneration of the divine, how those things, because of the patriarchy, because of colonialism, were dissolved, but how they're being reignited in current time because of, yeah, I think people have realized that the continuity, their faith, their religion doesn't have to dissolve in because or their cultural practices don't have to dissolve, be erased, their faith and their religion. I think that that's something that's always been true for me. So I think that that's also what feels alive right now too, that, like, I mean, it might not be religious based all of us, it might just be the different eras that we're in life, and we might feel like we have to put this celebratory communal aspect of us on the back burner, and I feel like that what I wanna say is, like, no, it doesn't, and especially as a woman, as a femme person, or people who are connected to their inner feminine, there you know that there's magic in that. There's magic in not letting those rituals dissolve and be, yeah, put on the back burner for other things in our lives, and I feel like for me, the way that that shows up is, yeah, honoring celebration, but also honoring the communities that I'm a part of, honoring all of the different parts of myself, like, kind of calling yourself into a circle is also a ritual as well. So there's many ways to interpret this 3 of Cups card, but I feel like that's how it's showing up right now, how the archetypes are being reflected month of November for some of us. Um, yeah. Okay, I'm gonna pause and read the chat now. Guy says, "LOL, this all feels very aligned." Do you wanna say more? Oh, wait, maybe you already have. Hold on. Oh, Nobu says, "I've been feeling more open about preferring the company of women." Okay. Yeah. Guy says, "Feeling into this after retiring from partying for a long time, being back in a place where I partied, like, full time. Getting ready right now to go play out for the first time." Yeah, and how I know no one, because everyone I know here is, like, in their ma'am era too. Yeah. Yep. Yep, 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 I can relate to that. Yeah. Mothers of the Night says, "Girls' Night would literally heal me, though, damn, LOL, damn. Too bad I have no girlfriend anymore, LOL." Guy says, "Samesies, maybe I'll meet some tonight." Mothers of the Night says, "I hope you do for real." I feel like, a lot of my well, not a lot of, a couple of my friendships with women have just dissolved in some cases. I also feel like there are women in my life that I can, like, hit up in any season, like, where I'm like, we don't talk every day, but I can text and I can message, be like, "How are you?" Like, some of them are moms, but I appreciate that, like, lately, I've been texting one of my friends who, um, we worked together, like, almost a decade ago, and, like, we still connect, and, like, her and I have been like, "We need to make some time," but we're both moms. But, like, sometimes just knowing that, like, we're thinking about one another, really sweet, but we also have been like, "Oh, okay, we need to stop making excuses, like, we gonna bring the babies, it doesn't matter, we're gonna have a mom hangout," and I'm like, "Yes, what I need," like, that is such a I feel like such a, feature of a lot of my relationship with women where we're like, "Okay, just you are, like, I don't care if your hair is done, you look good, like, I don't care, baby's there, the baby's crying, I don't care, just, like, let's lick up," and I'm like, I feel like that's, yeah, feature of, like, um, yeah, some of my relationships with women. really beautiful. That's beautiful. Yeah, I think it's really important too. I think just in all eras to have people that you can come back to, community that you can come back to as you evolve, as you change, as you go through your transformations is very I think it's very connective and it's very grounding. Yeah. Yeah. Same sky. I would definitely would travel with my people. I have traveled with my people before too, so I feel that and would do it again. Let's see, is there anything else that wants to be just shuffling the cards? Oh, yeah. I wasn't sure if I was gonna pull an oracle card, but now I want to. So I'm using the Beyond Lumeria oracle cards. I love these cards just because 'cause they're so colorful and fun. Let's see. See, I'm getting a text about the baby. Whoa, who is this? Somebody just texted me asking if I've been well, but I don't know who they are. Okay. Anyways. Anyways, that's random. Okay, the oracle card that came out is water, which represents the overflow. So this card represents abundance, non-attachment, the paradigm of no scarcity, allowing financial and energetic gifts to flow through and create more. The themes of this card are to allow for flow and receptivity, the path of least resistance, purity, clearing away that which no longer serves, and of course, motion. This card represents overflowing hearts, hearts that are overflowing with love, eyes filled with tears, well, an illustration, and grace, allowing whatever you feel to be expressed in the world, radiating so much light into the world. It's very short. Usually these are very long. I appreciate this, how short it is, concise it is. Yeah, I think it's pretty self-explanatory what water represents, like emotional overflow, again, abundance, a lack of rigidity, path of least resistance, as people say. We are in a tropical water season. You might feel called to tap into more, appreciate the state of water, how that translates to energetic states. Um, and yeah, in general, just feel called to flow in a way that honors, like, I would say, our authenticity. Um, yeah, and some of us may be called to learn from the ways of water. Um, yeah, I think also in general, I'm just kind of thinking about how I've been reflecting on like how I'm, at least in my family, I'm like the most watery person, like the most quote unquote emotional, the most in touch with my emotion, the most probably in touch with my inner feminine. So I feel like that's what this oracle card is representing, those themes around like water, emotion, inner feminine. Um, so there's much to I think reflect on there. reflect on from this container. But I just wanna thank y'all. I'm gonna recording. I wanna thank you guys for listening. Hope everyone has a good November, and I will be back. The dates of the next container will also be in the description of this episode. Well, thanks again for listening, and take care. Bye.